just so you know who I am, just to get that out of the way. Hi, I'm Steve, one of the directors here at Crypticon. My ties to Twin Peaks include that it was basically the reason I moved here. Because I was watching a lot of Twin Peaks at the time, and I was like, well, at least go visit the shooting locations, and then 12 years later, I'm still here. And earlier this year, I funded a misguided Kickstarter attempt to buy the Palmer House in Everett when it went up for sale. Yeah, that was my fault. That was my fault. That was my bad. And I am beyond honored and privileged to welcome three, I guess, residents of Twin Peaks here today. Sheryl Lee and Sherilyn Fenn. We have Audrey Horne, Laura Palmer, and all the way from Missoula, Maddie Ferguson as well. Certainly not going to monopolize this conversation. However, I'll get the ball rolling. Obviously, there are things to talk about currently. We've got you at the perfect time. So yeah, if we can just kind of get a personal update on hashtag Save Twin Peaks. It looks like the gum we like is coming back in style.
What gum is it? Does anyone know?
Blackjack.
It's ever special.
I thought it was
Blackjack?
Beeman's.
Yeah, that's what I know.
Because I like Beeman's. Even to her, no, it's Beeman's.
So yeah, it sounds like David's back in the fold and all is well.
Yeah, it's you guys can hear me. I don't need a microphone, right? No, it's the best thing in the world. It was so devastating. It's so exciting. You know, the roller coaster, I think all of us were on. We're doing it. He's out. We're doing it. So we, it was really cool. We when he told me, I was in dropping F-bombs and crying at the same time. And I'm not doing it without you. This is ridiculous. Blah. So we rallied the girls and then you all. It's amazing. I mean, it's amazing. I became a social media whore, shamelessly self-promoting the show. Sick of hearing myself, but we live in a world that doesn't sort of honor and respect our legends. And, you know, I mean, who's gonna make it without David? I mean, to me, it just makes no sense. Because my relationship with I was not in the script originally. He met me for 15 minutes, and a week later they called me and said I had a role. So who can meet you for 15 minutes and then know where you belong? And then my brothers go, oh, that's just like you, you're a brat, and you know. So I'm just grateful. I'm so happy we're back on. And 18 episodes now, even.
Oh, really?
Yeah. We're pretty sure that's what happened with the hiccup, was that David said that he saw, you know, Twin Peaks, but like all these, you know, like the universe and the strings just go all over the place, even in the world. It's not just Twin Peaks. And I think when he did the 9, he realized he needed 9 more to really complete it. So, you know, I'm just throwing a price, I don't know, but they're like, oh, showtime is 40, oh no, it's 80, and everyone went, wow, you know, so, but we're back on track.
Yes. So actually, I'm just going to open it up before I let y'all start asking questions, because I know you probably have a bunch, and it's totally cool if you want to ask questions about Wild at Heart, or Backbeat, or The Wraith, or stuff like that, but, you know, Twin Peaks is good too. Yes, Chris.
Right on, thanks. Mark Frost is one of my favorite writers. List of 7. I love that book. I was wondering if you'd share any personal anecdotes about Mark Frost, what he's like, and things about the show involving him.
I mean, I would start by saying that, you know, a lot of people said, well, they thought because we were saying we wanted David that we didn't want Mark or something. And that was not the case. But Mark wasn't saying he was out. David was.
Yeah.
Now, if Mark said he was out, we would have rallied for Mark, because the show is Mark and David.
Yeah.
And to me, Mark was the rock, the grounding force, the, you know, he was just, because DKL's, you know, he's very expansive and spiritual and meditative and all these things, and Mark is just, you know, he's kind, he's grounded, he's intelligent, he knows how to do, you know, they were like the perfect combination. I don't have a lot of Mark stories.
I know, I was just trying to think. I mean, for me, Mark always also just felt familiar in a way and very welcoming. You know, the two of them together created this environment that was so safe to stretch and play and grow creatively. And they did that together as a team, and they did it phenomenally. So I just, and there, I know he just felt so familiar to me. There was something about him that just immediately made me feel comfortable too.
Thank you.
Hi. Other than Twin Peaks, for each of you, what are your favorite projects that you've done in the past?
Well, it depends if we're talking about my favorite project because of where it was shot, or my favorite project because of the people I was working with or the character that I played. So it's not so simple. I loved doing Backbeat because that was a wonderful group of people, and it was like hanging out with a rock group in Europe for that time, and being able to meet Astrid and sit with her and go through the archives of her photography and everything. That was an amazing experience. And then you did a Bible story in Morocco too, didn't you?
Yeah.
Shooting a Bible story in Morocco was pretty phenomenal, right?
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
It's hard. I'd almost have to sit and look at. Sometimes I forget the films I've done. It's so embarrassing to say, but
But it's true. No, you judge your life by well, that's when I did that one, and then I did that one, and my son was there after that one,
Right.
and it's like this.
especially
weird
once
thing.
your kid is born, it's more your time, your lineage memory is more about. For me, it's more about my child than about the films. But I've been.
Now, obviously, we loved Twin Peaks
Yeah.
because that was a charming experience, and it was something that did what great work does, which is stands the test of time. That's was the first thing I heard. 17, moving to Michigan, it's got to stand the test of time. Now, meanwhile, I see the pilot and I'm like, I don't know, this is never going to go. What did I know? I was a kid. I'm like, this, I don't know. Everyone's sleeping with everyone, and So I had no idea. No idea that that was going to happen. And I personally loved doing Of Mice and Men with Gary Sinise and John. I felt like now I'm an actress. You know what I mean? I don't know why. I'm doing Of Mice and Men with John Malkovich and Gary Sinise. So that was we were out in a setting as we were out on a ranch, and I had a house and my dog. It was so cool. And I loved doing the Elizabeth Taylor story, but that was it kind of almost killed me. It's the only time on a set it had to be shut down. It was a lot, 6-day weeks, and you're trying to hit high points of her life, and you're trying to have all these men that have notes and questions of your husbands, and so it was fun though.
That kind of leads into a question I had too, as
Okay.
far as working with David, like before working with David and after working with David. Does it kind of spoil you at all for future directors as far as dealing with someone sort of so organic, and you could show up on set one day and not necessarily shoot what you thought you were going to be shooting that day? Did it carry with you in future projects?
David doesn't yell on the set. David is, okay, you all go have a cappuccino. We're gonna rewrite the scene, and it's just, but it's true, and it's easy, and it's breezy, and he's not like above the line, below the line, like the bullshit business. Like, I'm director, I'm important. You're an extra. You're not. Anybody, if you see something, and every idea and every person has a story that's valuable, and that's a really cool thing. And then he teaches you, would always say, those dark corners in your mind, Sheryl, and don't be afraid to shine a light on them. Don't be afraid. And he's also kind of weird, abstract in terms of his direction. It's true. Like Kimmy said. I remember. Like little bit, and so does his daughter Jen, because they have just this, I don't know, this creative genius, and they'll just bring you in. And like when I did Wild at Heart, he just kept saying, look for the bobby pins. Where's the wallet? Where's the wallet? And then how do you play somebody when they're dying and they don't know they're dying? And it was just crazy. But I just kept going, okay. You just trust them. You know, these are really, really, really. I like only want to work with David and Jen, but that's not realistic.
Yeah, he has a way to see things in you that you didn't even know were there, and to pull them out. And it does feel like, in a way, it does feel like being hypnotized, because sometimes the direction may not seem logically like it has to do with the scene, but he's taking you to a place, or he's created a mood for you to start the scene from. And he does it effortlessly and brilliantly, and if you just jump off that cliff and surrender to that process, that's where the magic happens. He also, for me, in terms of things that I took with me, I love the way he is present in the moment. He might have his idea of where the day is going to go, but if anything comes in and changes that, whether it's weather or whether it's the lights broken on
Blinking.
set
Right,
in
the
the
strobe,
morgue,
yeah.
right?
No, leave it.
He doesn't stay attached to his idea of what it's supposed to be when something, it's like he understands that creativity comes from a place that's bigger than all of us, and he stays open to that. And so when you're working in that space, you also get to stay open to that. And you know, it's a very interesting thing then to then go on to another set and say something happens and sort of observe, is there a way to take this into the story? That it's not an accident, it's not a mistake, something may appear to be broken, but it doesn't really mean it's broken. It might actually just be that creative energy trying to communicate with us something about the story. And to really just take the time, because he also does, he takes the time to listen to that. Even though there may be a rushed schedule of the day around him, he really protects his set from feeling the chaos of that.
And I mean, just for the record, I think it has so much to do with transcendental meditation, because it is a way in the world that is so crazy and so outrageous, and we never are going to get the peace that we all crave without finding a place inside, because it ain't out here, it's all crazy. So he has a way of doing that, so that yes, when he walks in a room and the big deer's head fell off the wall, he just leave it right there. Okay. Like, it's the trippiest, coolest thing. He has a respect for the moment and whatever is happening. It's nice.
Yeah, it's very exciting. It keeps it so alive, the story.
Well, if not for that, I guess Frank Silva might have never been Bob as well. If he
That's
hadn't
right.
just appeared in the background on that one, you know.
And you know what's really weird about that? Someone said to me, I realized on the pilot, and I'm doing in the coffee cup, and then she says, okay, Bob, and it wasn't written, but I said, okay, Bob. So, and it was like, that's kind of weird. I don't know, maybe it means something.
Yeah, it's kind of off the Twin Peaks, but well, first of all, you're saying about the show being like one of those things that stand the test of time. I think you guys will stand the test of time. You guys just look great, like look really beautiful. I want to ask you about what was it like working on Boxing Helena? I want to ask you about that one.
It was the best. Really hard, but oddly not as hard as the Elizabeth Taylor story. Give me no arms, no legs, and put me in a box. Okay, no problem. You know, Jennifer Lynch is one of the wisest deepest, incredible women I know, and she wrote it at 19. Who writes that at 19? It was really hard work, but I read the script, I threw it across the room, I got really angry, and then I knew I had to do it. I don't know. It scares you that much. Like I knew I could I understood her when she got more vulnerable, but in the beginning she like scared me. I'm like, God, she's such a bitch, you know? And she's so angry about everything, and but my teacher said, oh, and you don't think that you have that, you know? He goes, let's start working. So I loved doing it. It was amazing. I'd be in my box and be emotional, seeing Jen and I would she'd just come over and we'd just lean our heads together and connect. It's really a gift when you get to work with people that have a story, that have the courage to grow while they're doing it, not tell a story that they already know the answer to. And you have actors that are like just exploring stuff and illuminating everyone's human struggle, because that's what it is, I think. When it's really good work, it's like, wow, that happened to me, or I know that here. Not that feeling when everyone gets at the same time whatever this person's doing and it's boring, but when it's really personal. Because that's what David's work is super, super personal. Like he'll say, you know, his most spiritual film was Eraserhead, and if you ask him why, he won't tell you. Just like, that's mine. I'm not telling you why, you know, but that was, so. And The Elephant Man, which like, who can even watch that movie without just like sobbing through the whole thing? It's so fantastic.
Oh, I should also mention, in addition to hi for questions, generally the weirdest question gets a prize. And today, also to plug the book, if you haven't read Reflections: An Oral History of Twin Peaks, super good book. Both of these ladies are in it as well, by Brad Dukes. So whoever has the weirdest question by the end of the day, you get a copy of that. So. Yes, sir.
North Bend Snoqualmie, to me, I go every year for the festival, and I make several pilgrimages throughout the year. There's a palpable feeling there, like it's a character in the show. And like, for me as a fan, it's so important to go back to that place. Do you know?
We're shooting there.
You are? Okay.
100%.
Oh my God.
He's already come here. They're redoing the R&R diner to look exactly like it did in the show. And then the owners of the diner are going to keep it that way. The sheriff's station got built bigger, so he has to find a way to, but yeah, he's already been here. Absolutely. There's a spirit here, there's an energy here, it's powerful, and
Have them put autographed pictures in the diner when they're done.
oh, that would be cool.
Please.
That'd be
Please.
great. That's a great idea.
Please.
Yeah. Okay.
All the way in the back there. Yes, you sir.
That's sir. The sir on the right.
Sheryl, great meeting you. Thanks for coming to town again. I have a question for Sheryl Lee about your photograph, the prom photo. There's a lot of iconic imagery. You've got some pictures from owls and donuts and black on the floor. What can you tell us about your photo shoot for the prom scene photo? And where's that tiara now? And this is obviously when shooting started, so what were you feeling about getting started?
Well, just to clarify, that was shot specifically for Twin Peaks. It was not
Of course.
a photograph, but there's been apparently
rumor
some
is-
confusion that it was my actual.
I always read that it was your homecoming, that you were homecoming. That's what I always read.
Not even close.
You are two of the most iconic images in the show. Portraits being the girl in plastic and the prom photo. Out of all the imagery, I mean, your face is two of the biggest.
Well, I think that's the, you know, I mean, look, we all can relate to the prom queen photo. It's like the way that they shot it too. It looks like it was shot just like those prom queen photos are shot. So they had that very, you know, the way that David works, he hires so many amazing artists around him in every department too that understand his vision, right? And so he knows specifically down to the shade of lipstick that the girls are wearing what he has in his mind, right? And so like the dead picture, he was literally placing the sand grains himself on my forehead and making the plastic, you know, look a certain way. So he knows in his mind what, it's like he's painting a painting, what it should look like.
Yeah, great, thank you.
But I just also want to say that I feel that if somebody other than Sheryl had been Laura Palmer, it wouldn't, I mean, she comes with a spirit and a purity and an energy in it. Do you know what I mean?
Slurpee delivery, sorry.
Slurpees! Thank you. So I really believe it, you know, and then that's why she came back, and you know they give her, she's going to come back again. She's alive in the Red Room. She's got 9 lives because it's her spirit too. I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Speaking of coming back again, I'm going to let the floor up to someone else, but you were last in the vault, and you're on the next call sheet.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, well that's really just a stupid network thing. It's just very simply, I called David, you killed me. And he's like, you would never kill Audrey Horne. The network wants a cliffhanger. You're not being killed. Yeah. But I was going to be killed. I told them, if David doesn't do it, you can kill me, you can recast me, the blood's on your hands, or I blew up in the thing. It's scary because we all need to work. I was a little nervous about it, but I did.
This question is for Sheryl. A few years ago at the Twin Peaks Festival, you mentioned that if ABC hadn't canceled the show, that David was going to bring you back as their lookalike character, Delora Maddie. Can you tell us about that character?
Well, I don't really know that much about her. I just know that, you know, I mean, when you're working like that in those environments with David and Mark and everything like that, there's creative ideas going around all the time. Do you know what I mean? It's like, oh, what if this happened? Oh, what if that happened? Oh, what if she came back again? Oh, what if she, you know? So, in fact, I know that I'm coming back now, but I don't know how. And I may not know how until I show up for the next day of filming, which is fine. But, you know, I think it's like when we didn't know who killed me. There's all kinds of, oh, it could be this, it could be that, it could, you know what I mean? So those ideas are free-flowing all the time. There's always possibilities of it going this way or that way.
Yeah, there was nobody knew the killer. There was no killer. I would keep going, I better not be me. I don't want to be me. I did. You know, but there was no killer, and that was just like the hook that brought you into this world. And then as she says, it's so true, storylines would change. Like apparently Special Agent Dal Cooper was supposed to be with Joan Chen. And then all of a sudden when they just put us together, something started happening that they were like, oh, let's do that. They're funny together, like that's working. And that's, as I'm sure you guys know, that's how they found Bob the killer. And then they pulled poor Ray in there, and Ray's like, he said, it was you, it's always been you, it's you, Ray, you did it. So that's a beautiful thing when somebody, it's very John Cassavetes, they don't see things as mistakes or accidents, they see things as gifts. You know, like it's like all of us, if we learned life is what's happening, it doesn't happen to us, it happens for us. But where our egos are so locked into some people's stuff is like, it has to be this way, and then it's just rigid and it just crystallizes and dies. It's like, it's free flowing, and he is, I think, a huge portion of it is because he is doing so much meditation so his creativity can he trusts it. He just trusts it. He's not trusting like everything out here, you know, so.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, can you describe the casting process for you as young women?
With David or with the business? Because it's really different.
Mainly for Twin Peaks, but
Okay.
whatever you want to talk about.
Well, with David, I was living in Seattle here at the time, not at this hotel, but in. And I was studying theater, and I had an agent at the time just to do like some commercial work or stuff like that. And I just got a call from her that the director, David Lynch, who did Blue Velvet, was in town for a secret project for TV. Nobody knew anything about it, except that he had seen my photograph and thought that I might be this dead girl. Would I come meet him? And I was so nervous, I literally like sat on my hands because I was shaking so bad. But he was nice immediately. He put me at ease. And, you know, the casting process normally can be really brutal. You know, it's like you have to go into a fake, forced, totally unnatural environment and read these lines with somebody else who isn't even an actor while they film you, and it's for me, I've never gotten over my nerves of the normal audition process. But with someone like David, he's smart enough to understand if I help this person feel relaxed, I'm going to get the best of them, right? And so he's able to see, and from my understanding, almost all of us were, nobody had to read, right? We were all just cast based on, I mean, I think Harry was driving a limo, Deputy Andy, when he got cast, so.
He spotted him. That's Sheriff Harry S. Truman. To this day, he'll be like, Sherilyn, Richard Beamer, your dad. I'm like, okay. I love him. I mean, he said, that's your dad. Yeah, he did the same thing with me. He didn't read. He talks to you, and it's almost like the movie thing. He's not like stuck in these boxes of structure or the way it has to be. He's like, you know, Nicholas Roeg used to say, wanted to put a disclaimer on the front of his films, let go of all your ideas of what a movie should be or look like. You know, so he feels his way through it. Like they saw that relationship work, oh my gosh, let's do that, that's cool. He's behind the couch, he's the killer. You know, it's really beautiful. It's a great way to live your life. It's more in the flow of acceptance than egotistically trying to go against this tide that is a part of all of us and is going to kick your ass if you try to go against it anyway. So.
Yes.
Do you know if the music by Angelo Badalamenti will be brought back into the picture?
Definitely.
Oh.
Julie Cruz, I love her voice.
Yes, so beautiful.
Those were like pivotal, important, essential parts of it. They're definitely. I mean, I would be surprised if he changed the opening sequence. Actually.
Yeah, what that feels.
Seriously, the music, the whole thing. It would surprise me if he changed it.
Yes, sir.
Is there any kind of story about how David Lynch ended up as a character in Twin Peaks? I mean, other than this sort of free-flowing kind of thing like you're talking about,
It is that. He loves Cowell. You know, they're doing the one scene and then, and so he's like, I'll be the voice, I'll do the voice. You know, over the speaker. Okay there. And so I guess within a month, there he was. And then he got to kiss Machen, so he was happy. Who wouldn't want to kiss Machen? I mean, come on.
I have a question for Sheryl. I was wondering if you could tell us what the mood was like on the set during Maddie Ferguson's death scene, and if you and Ray were aware at the time that you were making one of the scariest scenes in television history.
Well, we, we had just found out, not long before we shot the scene, that it was Ray. And we knew that we had to shoot it with a smoke screen also because there were leaks about storylines and we didn't know where, but we knew, you know, they knew it was coming from somewhere. And so we had to shoot it with Leland and Ben Horne and Bob so that even the crew didn't know. So we had to keep doing that scene that whole time over and over.
David, oh my God, I didn't even know that.
It was a long day. So, you know, when you're in those days, your adrenaline kind of takes over, and it's almost more the next day when you're trying to get out of bed, you know, that you realize, and also emotionally. But I was so lucky because to be that young and to be working with that kind of intense emotion and physicality on that day, but to be surrounded with such an incredible crew and such kind, loving, male gentlemen actors who really made sure that everything was, you know, that I was okay in that. And I know that it was tough for Ray too. We've talked about it, you know, because he had a daughter not that much younger than I was at the time. So, but they were amazing. And when you're doing scenes like that, because of safety, the mood gets very focused. Mm-hmm. It's not one of those days where everybody's like laughing because, you know, when you're doing stunt work like that, you know, their hand is that close to your face. So everybody, it just gets quiet and very sharply focused. It has to be, because it's, you know, half an inch off and somebody gets hurt. But
and it's heavy. I mean, the whole thing is so And
yeah.
She's not lying. I mean, people can sit there and say, oh, you know, we love each other so much. But what she's saying is really true. That's why David gets the performances that he gets, because he sets a tone. He sets a tone of respect, and he sets a tone, you know. And the crew, we all just follow suit and are privileged to be a part of it. You know?
I was always curious, was doing Fire Walk with Me different in prep? Because, you know, obviously Twin Peaks on TV, there's certain things it got away with a lot of, you know, pretty scary stuff, but with Fire Walk with Me, the gloves are kind of off. Was it, I can't, like, you go through the ringer, I would imagine, on kind of a daily basis emotionally when you're doing that.
Yeah, and it was the kind of shooting schedule where I didn't really have, I don't remember having a lot of long breaks, which in some ways is really good because it's like I was in it. I know this sounds very strange, but in my mind, I have no separation of memory in terms of filming the TV series. Like, I don't have a break in my mind of, oh, that was the TV series and oh, that was the film, because to me it's the same. Laura is the same life force, it's the same story. So it's to me it's one big story. You guys are actually much better at telling me when things happen than I remember, which I greatly appreciate.
Do you find that generally when people come up to you, get maybe a more empathetic fan reaction than the average actor? Because,
well, I mean, the thing is, Laura's story is about abuse. And unfortunately, the statistics of abuse in our country are way higher than what they should be. And so sometimes it touches somebody in that way. And so more than empathetic, it's the this heart-to-heart understanding of people having been through similar stories. And that always touches me when people are willing to share, you know, how it affected them.
Well, and speaking of which, I don't know if anyone's picked up on this or seen it on Kickstarter. There's a Kickstarter now for a documentary called Northwest Passage, which is a documentary about a guy who grew up here, who dealt with a lot of abuse and really connected with the show and became kind of a super fan. and they're trying to raise money now to film a documentary about his life and kind of the parallels. So if you get on Kickstarter, please check it out, and donate if you can. I know one of the prizes or rewards they just announced is Kimmy Robertson will do a voicemail for you in Lucy's voice. Please go check it out. Oh yeah, I'll show you.
I had definitely heard about that.
It seems like a really sweet story.
That was the original show's title, is Northwest Passage, yeah. You all knew.
Yes, over there, the bird.
Yeah, for Sheryl, I was curious what some of the maybe personality and directing style differences between John Carpenter and David Lynch, having both.
Well, one thing that they have that's similar is they're both able to explore these shadow aspects of the psyche or the experience, but they both are just really fun to be around. Like there's a lightness and a joy and a sense of play that they both bring to the set. And I loved working with John as well, and that was a really fun movie to do. So differences, it's hard because it was, they're, in some ways they're so different. But one thing John did too that I really loved is he really took the time to explore with me this journey that Katrina was on in a deep way. Not just like, oh, you're becoming a vampire, but really, really go into what is happening when somebody is changing over like that. And I'll never forget that. It meant so much to me that he really cared in that way and was really wanting me to go as deep as I could into that and encouraging that. I would work with him again too, absolutely.
Twin Peaks has such obviously a huge cult following, and it's so iconic, and the two of you, as beautiful as you are, and artists here, so identifiable with those images, with the certain images from the show. And it's taken on such a life of its own with artists duplicating some of those images and people putting their own spin or vision on things. Is there ever anything out there that you see of yourselves that you take issue with or really applaud? I've always been curious about that. It must be so unusual to see yourself to look around and see yourself in so many different ways.
Well, I think in terms of it inspiring other artists to continue to explore their own creativity, that I love. I love seeing what people, because I feel like it's not mine. I just happened to be there at that point, and the story met me, my life force. Laura's life force met my life force at the right moment, and we shared that journey. But it's not something that is mine. And so when people come and show me, oh, I did this or that, I love seeing that. I love seeing there's so many. Well, first off, the fans of Twin Peaks, you guys are so creative and artistic yourselves, and I love hearing your ideas and seeing what you've come up with. The only thing that I've ever seen that I take issue with is when I see actual stills taken out of context from the film in maybe not a PG-rated moment.
That's exactly sort of what I was getting at, is because the stories of even both of you and your depth of character and the way that you're portrayed in the show, especially Laura's story is it's a tragic story of abuse. And she does take some power back in her sexuality and tries to use it herself, but she's objectified and abused. And then when I see that also in the world, I think you're missing the point. That's not the point of Laura's story. And
yeah. Well, that's kind of existential. I mean, that's women being objectified, all that that's just not Twin Peaks. That's
It's not,
everything everywhere. And
Yeah, and when you take something like that, when you sit and watch the whole show, or you watch the whole film, and it's so multidimensional and multi-layered, and it's all put together as a story, to me, artistically, it feels very different than if, say, a frame is pulled from the scene in the bar, right? We all know what scene I'm talking about, which I've seen a lot, is one of those frames pulled out. To me, and it's not because it's me, it's because I think we have to stop exploiting women and young girls, and it's something that I feel very strongly about. So that's the only thing that I've ever seen that I just feel like, if you're seeing it in the context of a moving image and a story that has all these different layers, it's very different than just taking that frame and, you know, out of context and, you know.
Right to the middle of that. Yes.
I had a question for Cheryl, actually. After going through the whole series and learning about, you know, the character of Laura Palmer and how tragic her life was, how dark of the character she ended up being, was it difficult for you to step into that character for a while?
No, because when the series ended, I kind of didn't feel finished with Laura anyway. And I had I didn't have that much to do, but I had enough that I felt her. And so I was curious as an actress, wow, what is this girl's story? So the opportunity to then explore that was such a gift. And the way that, David and I when David approached me and said he was thinking about this, and we would have these meetings and just talk about her life. So her life force was being fed. It was still alive for me creatively. So the transition back into her was seamless in that way, even though I did in between do a couple other jobs. She was still always kind of here for a while. Apparently she's still paying me.
it's like unfinished business.
And we got about 10 minutes, so I'm just gonna take folks who haven't gotten to ask a question yet. All the way back there. Yes, sir, with your hand still. Yes.
Oh, hi. So my favorite movie ever is Wild at Heart, and I just wanted to know if you could talk a little bit about the experience. I know you both have small parts in the film, but I think David has a gift of making every character in every one of his films really memorable, even if they're only on screen for a minute. And so I just wanted to know if you could talk about that experience, because it's such a beautiful film.
Oh, right! The perfect Good Witch.
David calls me and he goes, Sheryl Lee, how do you feel about heights? And I said, I totally lied. Fine, just fine. I feel fine about heights, David. It's a good thing, because I'm going to hang you from a crane about 60 feet above the ground. I was like, okay. And then, I showed up, and there's this big dress and this magic wand, and he says, see that? That's where you're going.
Excellent.
And I did it. And, somehow, it's kind of like for him, you just do anything. And you're able to do it. I don't know how, in that moment, my fear of heights had blown off in the wind. So.
For me, apparently he had, that story happened to a friend of Jennifer's, his daughter. She found somebody when she was driving cross country on the middle of the freeway, and it was just such a haunting. He never forgot it, and so he did it. Much to her dismay, she was pissed, but he did it. And so he just came to me like you, Sherilyn Fenn. I saw this. There's an accident on the freeway, and there's suitcases, and there's this little broken, bloody China doll, and it's you. I said, okay. We shot all night with like more blood. Oh my God. It's trippy. He just takes you to a different place. You get to, what Marlon Brando said, an odd job for a grown man. It's just a funny, cool thing.
Yes.
I'm just curious. A lot of David's work kind of stems from the dream world. With the transcendental meditation and whatnot. I was just wondering if you guys had any stories for us about Twin Peaks dreams or associations or nightmares from either of you, if you'd be comfortable sharing those.
Well, I feel like, you know when you, if you've ever studied a foreign language, and then all of a sudden you dream in that language and they say that's when you really know it. So for me, with every character on any film, there's always a point where I have a dream about that character. And for me, I feel like I don't necessarily understand the dream logically, but that doesn't matter. It's almost like, oh, I know their language now, I understand their language. So it just feels like they sunk in to me. And so I always had many dreams along the way of Twin Peaks, and even now I just had another one the other night for the first time in a long time. So even if it's not about me or my character necessarily, it might be about David and another character, but I feel like that's part of the creative energy's way of communicating. It's like we have so many different languages. This one is just one of hundreds and thousands maybe, who knows? It's like animals, the way they communicate. So to me, dreams are another way of communication.
That's when I know I'm supposed to talk, Cheryl.
Your turn.
The only thing that actually pops in my head is something about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. We didn't know what they were writing. And I walked into this chiropractor's, it doesn't even matter, but Mark ended up being there, and I was like, Mark, we're crying, talking, whatever. And then for the next 2 weeks, I dreamed about David, and we had a baby, and we were protecting the baby. And I'm like, David, I'm dreaming every night. What is going on, And I would just go one step farther and say, life is but a dream. This is all a beautiful dream. And sometimes a tragically difficult dream. And the wires just kind of get crossed, and it can be a beautiful thing. And then, like I said to him once, this is another thing, the veils are getting thinner. I was like, well, in all honesty, I was trying to get information out of him. And so I said, I think I'm going to bleach my hair. I'm going to bleach my hair again, And I thought he'd say, no, don't you bleach your hair and freak out. And he's like, well, that's very interesting that you're dyeing your hair right now. And someday I'll tell you why. So then after he made the announcement, I asked him, will you tell, the hair, what do you, well, I'm not going to tell you right now. I'm like, okay. One of his messages was, I'll be like, what are you doing? What's happening? He goes, in the spring, some branches grow long, some branches grow short, but they will grow. I'm like, okay, Chauncey, whatever. Just tell me what we're doing. We were in weeks. We were like, ah.
Yeah, it was a long few months.
But he's just one of the ones. When David's in a funny way, it's beautiful when you're just around somebody who's just authentically who they are. And that was actually a funny thing. The first audition, short version. It was the first time I went into an audition and didn't try to make them like me and allowed myself to be kind of shy like I am when I first meet people. And I got a role written for me. So it was like a really big verification of it's not about it's just knowing your story. Everybody in this room has a valuable, powerful, unique, wonderful story. And and it's having the courage to say it, to write it, to share it, and then that's what movies are. We go, maybe the things that we can't feel, it helps us to feel it. That's a gift.
All right, I got time for one more, though. I'm sure they will both be happy to answer your questions at their table, too. Yes, ma'am.
Nobody's asked a weird question yet, and I really want that book. I've been a fan of Twin Peaks since I was a teenager. I'm in my 30s now, and you two have been such embodiments of beauty to me, iconically, mainly because of your characters in Twin Peaks, but other things as well. And so what I want to know is, that's obviously not reality. Everybody has flaws in real life. So can you tell us how many cavities each of you Or if you've never had a cavity, then have you broken bones and have you had?
Quite a few of both, actually. In fact, I'd have to really sit here to count.
I ate so much candy when I was a kid. My mom got married like 8 times. She did. I would get little bags of like that penny candy stuff. I had so many cavities, so many root canals, so many, like dentist phobic completely. I hate it.
Broke my finger just last year, had a cast and surgery, broke my arm, had broken toes, cracked my head open.
Yeah, we went to the one show once and like my toe was all wrapped up in her arm. And our agent's like, God, you got like, what's going on?
Yeah, we do our own stunts.
Okay, good, you're not perfect.
As my mother loves to say, which I think is a brilliant thing, in the imperfection is the perfection. For everyone. And beautiful roses, a rose blossoms, and there's always one petal that is flawed, and a florist will pluck it. Perfection is imperfection. It's all good.
Well, I think that's a lovely note.